And I also want to take a moment to kind of talk about how, we also got here through sensationalism politics. And I'm specifically talking about that man whose name I do not mention, lobbying for MP Mingret to first run on a party, to be accepted by a party, and then to be elected. And how that, will always, if we keep buying into this sensationalism, instead of focusing on people's character, on people's whether they're qualified for the job, whether they actually have some Martin at heart, that results in getting us subpar representation. And it's not just him, eh? It's not just him. Because at least he can speak, So I think it's unfortunate, and we really have to move away from that. I think when people ask me, well, how does it get different? It gets different when we make sure to close the loopholes that allow people to flood money in the streets at the most vulnerable in our community, who look at a one-day payoff as something that they desperately need, not realizing that it gets them a 4-year screwing, basically, by the person that they then cast their vote for. Because persons who are willing to do that, to pay money for a vote, are persons who will do anything for themselves and nothing for Samatin. And I think it's important to say that, it's the former administration, especially if I read MP Mingret's letter to the governor from Saturday, it's self above country right now, guys. Doesn't matter where they come from, it's self above country at all costs. Because again, you've had people talking out one side of their mouth about stability and about how we're going to move things forward, but it's not actually stability, is it? It's just I'm the one to bring the stability. Sorry. And I think that that's unfortunate, but nevertheless, we move on. Um, our stance on this matter, we've always said as a party, you cannot legislate character, and that's what this is. Minister Gums, Minister Plenipotentiary Patrice Gums said on our Lady Grace interview that persons are now attacking Kevin and the fact that he's of Haitian descent as a reason for why this was done. And I want to echo the minister when I say that that is absolutely not what has happened here. The Haitian people did not do this. The Haitian community did not do this. One person who it happens to be of Haitian descent did this. At the end of the day, we have to get away from triggering the xenophobia when it doesn't suit us and stifling it when it doesn't suit us. And that's really a concern for me, because you have such a blended tapestry right now on St. Martin that you don't really know who is from where or whatever. I've always said that we continue to make persons, even if they've been here longer than most of us have been alive, make them feel like they don't belong here. And that's unfortunate. And I think you would see a lot better integration and more working towards better in Martin if we were to just say, you know what, you're a Samatno, because the definition of that has been shifting since the 60s and the 70s, and we just need to admit that and move on and evolve. And I think further to that, I once again don't. I understand, and I am completely upset with MP Maingret for his decision, because especially since I let it be known that if at any time you are feeling the pressure, you just call me. Just call me. Like, everybody knows I'm usually always on my phone, and I usually call back right away once I see that I've missed a call or I've missed a message. And I thought that there was good enough communication between the two of us that he could have called me and said, I this is what's happening and I need help. I would have helped, because I know how it goes in this game. They've done it to almost every young politician since 10, 10, 10, and even before then. And at first, it was external persons doing it to our politicians, and now it's politicians doing it to our politicians. So I think it's unfortunate that we continue to trap people like this, because not everyone can withstand such pressure. I definitely can. We definitely withstood it for 4 years, which is why they had a stable government, about as stable as Bobby and Whitney's marriage, to be honest. And I know that not everyone can do that, and I get it. I've also had to reflect and say, well, I don't understand. If I can do it, why can't he? I get it. Not everyone is me, but I'm definitely always open to helping persons evolve and be better when it comes to this game, and display some leadership that they can actually be proud of, and even if they're not from my party. I want to see people be better politicians for Simatan, and that's really what should matter. But alas, birds of a feather, they continue to cause instability together. And if we look at who's been shifting and pushing and causing that instability, it's not that difficult to see, guys. Um, your previous coalition. The impact that this has had these last 6, let me tell you. I went to school in Miami, as everyone knows. I went to university in Miami, and I attended university with so many different persons from this region, from Europe, from Africa, from everywhere. My phone has just been popping off. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to have my Beijing and my Trini friends asking me, what the heck? What's happening? And I'm like, guys, how much time do you have? So it's I think we need to also be aware of what this does to us on a regional and international level. And I know some persons as well are upset that there's an election coming, and I want to touch a bit on that as well. There's an election coming because Article 59 is the Prime Minister's response to something that is happening uh, in Parliament that makes it seem as though it is you're getting a rogue Parliament. And this a Parliament where you have someone withdraw their support one day, sign something new the same day, and then 5 days later withdraw the same. And say, no, that is the definition of why Article 59 was created. There's confusion in Parliament because there's no clear majority. So yeah, there has to be an election. It cannot be pulled back. I know that many people were hoping that it might be able to, but still, the overwhelming number of messages I got from persons saying, please don't tell me that elections is going to be canceled, um, also shows that people, I think, are ready to actually punish this type of behavior, to punish this type of character, not just in the person that jumped ship, because when you jump from a ship, it would be good to know that there's a ship next to you to jump to. That's the reality of it. Most are not jumping into waters, into any shark infested waters on their own. A lot of times I mean, I don't know if I can call it a ship, maybe a dinghy, maybe just a dinghy with like a duct tape patch on it because there's holes in the ship itself. So I think that we also have to continue to stress that, because every time that someone leaving a coalition has caused it to fall, everyone talks about the person, but they never talk about the others who have been kind of pushing them in that direction. And if I were a weaker minded person, if I was not the person I was, if I hadn't been raised in this, I also might have fallen for but let me farm this thing now. This ain't gonna last. That's what's said to me during the budget debate. Okay, I'm telling you honestly, that's what was said to me during the budget debate by persons from the opposition benches. This thing ain't gonna last. And I'm like, why won't it last? It won't last as long as y'all keep interfering. And I think that everybody has to be really real with themselves about that. Like, look in the mirror, dog. I don't know how many more 1,000 votes you have to lose in a 4-year term where you were actually governing to be able to say, wow, maybe we, kibosh this up. Yeah, I can't cuss on my live stream.
For all of life's twists, turns, and defining moments, RBC is a blend for all of you. SXM, your social and health insurance. SXM, your social and health insurance.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah, your social health insurance.
one of the things that the former government ran on and pounded their chest boldly. We gave you 4 years. You were in office for 4 years, yes. And the question is, how did you remain in office when you lost your majority in June 2022? It wasn't that the boys just joined you. It wasn't that they just jumped on your bandwagon and said, okay, we're going to hold the flag and we're going to continue with this government. The investigation, the information will come out. Which MPs had companies receiving payment as consultants to keep the former government in office. Let me tell you what going down. You see, that's what they're scared of. That's why they destabilized us. Because the things that are coming up now are very, very serious. But I will say this one. Go and look for it. Go and look for the payments. You will notice they started in June 2022. Go look for them. See who is attached to those companies. They were MPs in the government. And then come back here in the next campaign and tell me how you run for 4 years. If that's how you run government, God help St. Martin. God help St. Martin. But it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. When you read the Minister Vromi, that Vromi was left rudderless. No SG, no deputy SG, staff bureau empty. The longest serving department head out on medical leave. They just got somebody in Vromi to come on, in the Vrom department to come on. No head of permits, no head of domain. Where you going? How can you run a department like that? And then you overinflated the budget, and now they're going to go cut 2-3 million from a budget that, if they cut it, they have nothing. You see, the Prime Minister spoke about a lot of things today, about where things were wrong. When I spoke about Vromi, a lot of people said it was sour grapes, when I explained what went down. But I'll say this much. If what I was saying was also wrong, then I wonder what I'm going to say just now, why it happened. A lot of contractors were paid money, never executed the work. But the government didn't want to collect it back because they were affiliated to their organizations. What's going on? The bus and taxi scandal. The amount of things that was said. Here in school children saying who falsified signatures of the minister to give licenses to their friends. Look, all of these things are being said, was said before during elections too. But now, the new government has been able to pull up the documents. And those documents are now subject to scrutiny. And now people are getting very nervous. And people used leverage of one of them who did something wrong to tell them, if you don't leave, we're going to tell. We're going to show. All of these type of things is what's happening. Is what led up to what happened. We just got to say it the way it is. And a lot of people are afraid to say certain things. I mean, Marcelina has told everybody on the radio that his safety has been compromised. And they threaten him. I mean, you know, I always say, we got to be careful what we do or what we don't do. But the truth will always set you free. Many hidden documents are being brought up to light now. And I'm sure when everything is said and done, a lot of things are going to look different than they were told to you during the last campaign. A lot of truths will be revealed. And a lot of untruths that were told will be exposed.
SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah. Your social health insurances. For all of life's twists, turns, and defining moments, RBC is a blend for all of you.
I too will make my position available when that time comes. And also, Mr. Lee, you've asked the two previous ministers concerning a quick scan. And I would like to elaborate a little bit on that because I think it's important that the people of St. Martin understand the process behind what we thought we should have done or should do in reference to a quick scan. It was a part of our governing accord. That was a decision that we all agreed to. I took the initiative to contact not one, but two organizations to provide us not only with a quick scan for the Ministry of Finance, but also all ministries. Upon that realization, we had a meeting with the Honorable Prime Minister, who then said, well, you know, if we do across the ministries, perhaps it would be a great idea if they can also include, future tense, the government-owned companies. We have received one quotation so far. And, you know, to be honest, while I understand the importance of it, especially towards the government-owned companies, you mentioned GB, I'm sure the harbor, I'm sure the airport or other parts that you would probably mention as well or tell them. The truth of the matter is we have been in an onboarding session now, and that onboarding session has provided so much information as to the current state of affairs for this country. I don't know, and I'm being totally honest, knowing that budget cuts of 22 million across the board is going to be necessary, I don't know if it's sound to still go out and have to pay, at least we have one quote thus far, towards a quick scan. However, if this Council of Ministers believe together that this is still an urgent matter, knowing where we are, then we would have to have that discussion and then come to an understanding concerning the quick scan. But I believe all of the information that we've received thus far already paints that picture.
Okay, Mr. Lee.
Thank you. I guess it's a question of what you would share with the public. I mean, as a minister, you have some information that I understand that's confidential. I understand that some of the government-owned companies also have financiers, and if that information becomes public, it becomes an issue. But so where do you draw the line between transparency and the need for confidentiality? And I think, okay, so ultimately, if this government becomes a demissionaire government, can you continue that quick scan process? Can you continue the hiring of consultants if necessary in order to paint that clear picture so that when people are going to the polls, that they have a better understanding of what the real status is and what was inherited?
Yeah, I believe, like I said, it's a discussion that we would have to have as a Council of Ministers to decide. And I agree, I totally understand your position, your question, but I am looking at the financial situation of the country. And already having all of the information, or at least most of it, that was unfolded during this onboarding process, I kind of believe that that is sufficient. And if information needs to be shared, depending on the confidentiality of it, then we can probably look at that and see how we can go about sharing that information to the public.
I understand. As we enter into what appears to be a new political season,
Yeah.
there's going to be the other side of the statements being made, just like the outgoing government, that the government was left with the robust coffers. So in that is going to be a real confusion for the people,
Correct.
and that's where I think an independent scan
I
audit
totally understand, but
is-
like I mentioned in my statement, that 90 million that was left in terms of the robust coffers that we were talking about is towards investments. It has nothing to do with operations.
So a specific, you mentioned that CFT will probably state that there's an oversight of revenue of 22 million. But
Correct.
that same CFT commented on the previous budget and gave it a thumbs up. So again, this is where I think media and public is confused. What is the true story? So
Understood.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. I would now like to invite Judy Fitzpatrick of the Daily Herald. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. A lot was mentioned about the financial status of the government right now. The Prime Minister mentioned that a bankrupt government was met. You mentioned that a lot of the 90 million cannot be accessed for operational expenses and pay salaries and so forth. So what I would like to know, what exactly is in government's coffers right now that is funds that can be used? If you can give me a dollar figure as to what we have right now. And would you consider, if you're saying that the 90 million can't be used for anything, then would you consider the financial situation of government critical right now? Because with the calling of elections, that's another expense that is going to be put on government's coffers. And if you can also provide us with a figure as to how much new elections would cost. Thank you so much.
Judy, to be honest with you, like I stated, the 90 million is towards investments. So I really would not at this time want to give an exact figure as to what's in our bank. You don't want to give that that fare to the public. What we do know is that if we continue in the manner in which we are going, which is already dire, and I have stated that in my release, it is a dire situation. It will not leave us in a good financial position. Like I said, CFT will tell us cut 22 million across the board. That is going to happen. And I have already instructed all ministries to go ahead and look into cutting across the board. I have outlined per ministry how much they should cut. It's not even, so that's unfortunate, but that is the reality that we face. We came in on May 3rd, and on May 3rd, you had a situation where the wish lists of the ministries were not yet known, or not correct, I should say. Not all ministries delivered on time, and even if they did, it was incorrect. So I gave an extension until May 30th to have that corrected. And if not, we will definitely have to go back to the 2024 budget, which I already know will have to be cut by 22 million.